today we'll go into our first day of full pads. I think our kids are very excited. It's also fun because probably have anywhere from 500 to plus coaches out there maybe watching practice today with the clinic that's going on out at the Marriott. So have probably close to 2,000, 2,500. It's the largest high school clinic other than the state of Texas and the national clinic. But been pretty healthy. Our guys are getting back out there. I really like the execution of our offense overall, just with a new terminology, new way of doing things. Kind of the same things you'll see after you get back from break, but I just couldn't be more pleased with the way the kids have responded. So happy about that. And then obviously with the signing of Daniel O'Brien, a guy that probably contacted us first probably 2 months ago after he got things settled there with Maryland and reached out to us and was another unique recruiting process. Had a little bit of experience, obviously, from Russell's situation, but really two different kids, two different scenarios. Obviously, Danny coming in with 2 years of experience, or 2 years of eligibility is a little bit unique. From my perspective, if you go way back and look at the Russell situation when I lost James Stallings and then the injuries to Kurt Phillips and John Budmeyer, that led us to Russell's decision to bring him in. And then this year, some people had inquired, but we really didn't get fully engaged until the situation came with Danny because John's situation got complicated again, Kurt's situation, and also the surgery to our incoming freshman and Bart Houston led us to get in this scenario once again, and obviously had good results. And excited about Danny. The best thing is on his visit, he really blended in well with our guys. I think the overall exposure to them probably ended up being the difference. So with that, open up for questions.
What's the message to guys like Brennan and Stabby?
Before we even got into this, we actually sat down with those guys one-on-one back when Paul was here, back in December. I sat down and talked to those guys because there was another situation that popped up that didn't materialize to its fullest. And then this year, this time with Danny, again, sat those guys down, just kind of explained. Actually, I talked to the entire team. Talked to the quarterbacks first, but then talked to the entire team, and the message was the same to both was, because of the quarterback situation, it draws a lot of interest, so it's going to draw media and the attention of everybody. But bottom line, I don't want to leverage the overall well-being of our football team based on a catastrophic number of injuries at one specific position. It's just happened to be the quarterback position that brought it up. I would do the same thing if it was a safety position, if it was tailback, defensive end, defensive tackle. It's really just because of the situation that we're in.
Do you anticipate, though, even knowing what you've just told us in the injury situation, that somewhere along the recruiting trail, maybe Matt's going to have questions asked of him from people about, is this a pattern?
Yeah, absolutely. I think, anytime you have newsworthy information, it draws a question. I think the information that we're able to provide it's always the truth. One thing that we always say in this program, if you always tell the truth, you never have to remember what you said. And we're speaking the truth. It's because of the injuries we've had at that position that have brought us to this scenario 2 times in a row. I think people right away think it's going to affect your recruiting maybe of a high school senior now, but it really can't be any better because now you can sell to a high school senior quarterback the fact that a guy's going to be in here, possibly be a 2-year starter if he does earn that position, and then you'd have a chance to come in, red shirt for a year, watch a guy play, and come in.
Do you think there'll be another backlash? Because you heard about some things with Russell here.
You know what? I didn't hear one word because I didn't listen. I understand that people talked, and I think it's great for everybody to have conversations, things to write about, but it really didn't pertain to anything that I was making a decision upon, so it doesn't matter.
You talking recruiting about finding a Midwest kid outside the Midwest? Is Danny just another example of
I think
with Midwest values?
Danny's born in Minneapolis, lived there, I believe, until he was early teenager years, and then obviously went down to North Carolina, went to high school there, and then went to school in Maryland. But we do always say try to find a Wisconsin kid in another part of the country, and that's a message that we've really used in recruiting before Russell Wilson, before Danny O'Brien. So I think it is. If the kid didn't fit, if I got any type of feeling during the recruiting process that he wasn't going to fit, or any feeling when he was here on campus, we wouldn't have gone down this road, but just felt really comfortable, especially, again, from our players.
It takes a special person to earn the respect, to come in and earn the respect of those guys when he does come in 2 years later than most guys. What do you see in him that you think will allow him to do that?
Well, things that we found out about him from not only his time at Maryland, but back to his high school coach, just the way he worked, the way he kind of found success wasn't just handed to him. He worked for it every day, and he's a big student of the game. So I think anytime you have that approach or that idea, kids are going to respect that. And I think we'll have a conversation before he actually hits the ground running here, and just emphasize to him some of the things that we shared with Russell. Hey, just show up, do your business, show the kids that you know how to work and you're willing to work with one another, and good things will happen.
He's talked about that and his appetite for film study, and his coach talked about his football IQ. But physically, when you evaluated him, what stood out about what he could do physically?
Well, I think you go back to even his freshman year when it was more of an offense like we'll run here. Just, obviously his ability to make decisions, make the throws. He's got good size in the pocket. He's a different quarterback. He's probably along the lines more of what you saw with Scotty, more so than what you immediately just saw last year with Russell. But I think also the part that is intriguing to me is he was much more engaged into what we were going to do as a complete package, run game, how that affects the passing game and all that goes into it. I know him and Monty got to spend some time together. He got to spend time with the offensive linemen, spent a lot of time with the wide receivers and the tight ends during practice. So I think that picture really came to light while he was here. I hadn't seen that side of him until I got him here on campus.
How do you think he'll handle the pressure of following Russell?
I know him and Russell, I think, tweeted back, we couldn't by NCAA rules do anything, but I can't stop the tweet world, so they had that going on. I think, it's naturally going to be there with the whole conference and the transfer, but it really is, I've never tried to pigeonhole a guy into the situation, but I think it's inevitable, so I don't think, from what I've learned of Danny, is he's just going to line up and do his business no matter what other people say.
You said you met with the quarterbacks before Danny officially came here. When they got word that he was coming, what was their reaction?
I haven't seen him, I could not comment. Danny wanted to keep things, he wanted to be able to tell the people that were involved in the recruiting process instead of by media. So he signed, I believe I got the fax Tuesday afternoon, but he didn't want to tell anybody till Wednesday. And so it was official, but I just kept it quiet and let him do it on his own. So really haven't talked to the team since it's become official. So I don't know.
Do you have plans to?
Yeah, I'll announce it today afterwards and just say, obviously, there's been an announcement and he hasn't been promised anything, just like every other player in our program. These guys were heavily involved in the recruiting process. We had him in town. I'd mentioned before he came to campus that he was going to be in campus, and we don't try to put an elephant in the room. We just try to be honest and upfront. So.
Russell had a month to get acclimated before camp. Danny could have 2 months. How much do you think that'll help him?
I think it'll help. As coaches, we're not around much in June and July, and I think it's going to be on our other players. But the benefit is it's a system that they've just learned now for the first time as well, as far as verbiage, communication, the way things are said and done. So I think it won't be maybe as steep a curve, obviously because of time, but also because of just it's not an ingrained system.
Have you FedEx the playbook yet?
Can't by NCAA rules.
When can you?
You can't. We can't really give out playbooks until next fall when we start camp. There's some pretty specific rules. One thing that's changed so much, and it's kind of silly with some of the NCAA rules, you really, the technology world, we have a video playbook that is accessible 24/7, and it's just, everybody does. It's all the plays that we've ever ran on film. You go up and kids do independent film studies all the time.
So he can look at that?
Yeah, there's no restrictions. We just can't line it up and we can't be in the room with him.
So in essence, he'll have the playbook, even though he won't have it.
Yeah, everybody really over the last, I would say 10 years since the birth of Exos and the advanced filming, it's not a playbook anymore. There's a lot of people that don't even, one of the proposals to me this year was that we weren't going to have playbooks. They got an iPad, and there's a lot of schools and a lot of NFL organizations that have gone to that, but I'm not in that iPad world yet. I still got to have that little binder.
When you met with Russell, Aaron Henry played a factor in meeting with him and stuff. With Danny, were there any players who spent time with him?
Yeah, I had Chris Borland spend time with him the first night. He went to dinner with all my offensive coaches. Trying to think, he did what I did on Saturday. Friday when he got here was a lot of academics. I had him visit with possible programs that he might be involved with from a graduate student program, and really doused him in that. And then him and his mom and his stepfather, Steve, really just did a lot of academic orientation, all that goes into it. They went to dinner. I think Chris was the host with him the first night. Maybe Monty was around a little bit, but we had practice the next day, so it wasn't like a Friday night that they get to know each other. It actually, then him and Matt actually came over here after dinner and did film study till I don't know when. And then on Saturday, he had a panel with the offensive line. I believe we had lunch. He had lunch with all the offensive linemen in the cafeteria where we have every training table meal at. And then, Saturday night, Ryan Groy. They actually had dinner at my house. By NCAA rules, you can do that, and his host was Ryan Groy, and I didn't cook. I think it was just another experience for him to kind of just get a feel for what everybody's about.
Do you think having 2 years will relax him a little bit? It's not quite as tight a time.
Yeah, and I don't see Danny really getting flustered much. One of the things that came back through coaches that were with him on Friedgen's staff, as well as his high school coaches and people that have been around him as of late, is he just kind of everything's just a business-like approach, something you've heard before, but it's kind of seems to be the way he's gotten through to where he is today.
Your track record getting transfers here with Russell and Watts has been pretty good. But is there any downfalls or concerns that you see kind of, moving forward?
Well, I think anytime that, we're a program that teaches and talks about development, we've got kids, when these kids are coming in, realize they're graduating in 3.5, 4 years. I mean, they're exceptional students. They fit in to the way we kind of do things around here. So I think if you have a kid that is concerned or raises any questions, which I can understand why there might be, if you just explain the situation and the scenario, it's pretty easy to put down paper, that I've lost 4 quarterbacks out of the last 6 that I've signed due to injury that are significant. That's a pretty big reason.
How much of the playbook will be installed this spring camp, or is a lot of that going to be waited?
We want to get through these first 4 practices. These first 4 practices were scripted out before we ever did a day of practice, and we tweaked a little bit today, but for the most part, these were set. We had to get accomplished what we wanted to do. I can't tell you, I've been blown away with the way that our kids have executed, offensively and defensively. Part of the reason I kept the media out was just I want to see myself. I don't like, displaying things that aren't, proven first. So I wanted to give our coaches and our players the ability to adjust these first 4 practices and see where we're at. And I think our players have kind of said it to you. I've been amazed at the way they've handled it. So to move forward, we'll probably accelerate things a little bit more than we had planned to do, just because the kids have grasped it and done very, very well.
So will those 11 practices after spring break make some ground for Danny to have to make up when he comes into camp?
Danny's going to be handled when Danny comes in. I'm planning right now to play the spring ball out like we have and let the quarterbacks that are competing, Joel and Joey, are both been really nice surprises in my opinion. Kurt is getting in there as much as he can. I know he's probably frustrated a little bit because he wants to be in there full go, but all 3 of them, I would say, have been ahead of where I thought they were or going to be. So I've been very excited about that.
Will this impact what you do with Kurt next year, with the 6th year?
You know what? By NCAA rules, a 6th year can only be granted after the completion of their 5th. So there's 2 guys that are really in the same situation. Kurt Phillips and Brennan Kelly both have to process through their 5th year before they can become a 6th year.